Good evening and welcome to Realize with Dr. Bruce and Ronnie. We are so fortunate this evening to have a very special guest for tonight's show that we're very excited about. We're going to be talking all about transformation, all about the power to change your mind and change your time. In the studio with us, we have Nicolous Valentin.
Yes.
And I'm going to let Nick, because he's so accomplished and has so many wonderful, wonderful accomplishments, I'm going to let you introduce yourself, and then we're going to get right into the show.
Sure. First of all, thanks, Ronnie and Dr. Bruce for having me. Like she said, my name is Nicolous Valentin. I'm originally from Bogota, Colombia, and I am currently a biomedical engineer and a musician. And I'm here to offer my perspective and hopefully serve as some inspiration to whoever needs it.
All right. Thank you. And Dr. Bruce, of course, is always standing by in the studio. Welcome, Dr. Bruce.
All right. Thank you. And, yeah, we're real excited about being able to discuss new perspectives and just navigating kind of traumatic environments and just overcoming obstacles in our history to achieve positive outcomes. And, you know, it's the idea of resilience, building resilience, the idea of moving toward transformation, what does transformation feel like, and, you know, how do we keep it going? We've been talking to many young people and families within what we call communities of hope, but they're, communities under a lot of people under high stress, continuous stress over a long period of time, and they need the idea that there is hope. There is a way to overcome, you know, obstacles, and there is something better ahead if you do put the energy in the right place. So we definitely want to start to venture down the path of understanding, you know, the anatomy of resilience, the anatomy of transformation, and how we move forward. So, again, we're very, very excited about today's show and starting this thing off. So how about you, Ronnie, as far as your introduction and your feeling about this?
Wow. Well, as you know, I am the Director of Development for Higher Hopes, which is a nonprofit grassroots organization that you are the founder and executive director of. And we've worked in many communities around the DMV. We also have an office in Ontario as well as in Nigeria, so we really get around. We see a lot going on within our communities, and we're really all about transformation. We're all about really making the world a better place. So that's our mission and our charge.
There you go. So, Nicolous, first, when I guess we first talked, I was very inspired by what you shared of your story and your accomplishments. I don't know, as an introduction, would you just talk a little about, you know, just how you're here right now, matter of fact.
How I'm here professionally, you mean?
Professionally, and even just because you had, I guess, there's many obstacles to get here, like, you know, not just on the soil of America, but then your choices now as an accomplished professional.
Right. Well, that's a very long story, actually, but I can give you a gist of what it is, and feel free to ask me if you want me to expand upon it. So like I mentioned, I was actually born in South America, in Colombia, and I actually lived there till I was about 14 years old. At that point, Colombia was going through a very rough time, as some people may know, economically and politically. Unfortunately, the problems of the country expanded to affect my family, and we were actually threatened to death by the guerrilla, which was taking control over the country and spreading a lot of the drug problems that were affecting the country. Long story short, my parents didn't think it was, of course, a safe environment for us to live in. They didn't really want to give in to their demands. So they decided to leave the country. So I think that was one of the very first obstacles that, to be honest, if that wouldn't have happened, I wouldn't be where I am, of course, physically and as a person, and spiritually as well. Like you mentioned, I think adversity and obstacles are very important for transformation and for growth. And so leaving our country would literally, we had like suitcases. It was me, my mom, my dad, and my sister. We moved to the United States after applying for, we applied for a political asylum at a few different countries actually, and we got turned down. But we came to the United States either way in search of a new opportunity. And I'm so blessed to have parents such as mine that they actually give up their lives that they had built for over 40 years to really give us a chance to a better life. And so today, like everything I do up to now, I think that's something I try to keep in mind, that somebody else give a huge part of their life for you to be alive, if you actually try to be somebody. So I think that's a big fuel for everything I do. And that's why I think adversity is so important, because if there's no problems, you're facing no problems, sometimes you run out of fuel, and you start creating your own troubles and stuff. So I've been very blessed to be faced with those things, and I've been very blessed, I guess, that God has given me, and something that I inherited from my mother, a resilient attitude. So no matter how many times you get knocked down, all you have to do is stand up one more time after that. And I've been able to do that, and with the help of other people that I've had around me and my family, I was able to go to college. I was able to pursue a career in electrical engineering in California, where I lived for 10 years first. And after I graduated, I was actually still in the process of obtaining my permanent residency in the United States, because we came under a work visa. And that was an interesting obstacle, since we're speaking about obstacles. If I would have turned 21 and the process wouldn't have finished, I actually would have had to either start the process on my own, which took 8 years at that point.
Wow.
Or I would have to leave the country. So, you got to do what you got to do, and I actually considered, marrying somebody just to stay in the country, which, of course, is a crazy idea that luckily doesn't have to happen. I could have applied, as a student for an extended student visa, or who knows what I would have to do. But for some reason, every time I face an obstacle, and I think this applies to everybody, if you have enough faith, I think, just when you think there's no exit or a bridge to cross over that obstacle, something just happens, and you just get across it somehow, and it's crazy. And so, actually, maybe 3 or 5 months before that whole thing, I would have had to leave the country. They moved the date of the papers that we're reviewing for permanent residency a whole year, within a day. So we checked 3 months before, and the date said a year ago. So we were like, there's no way they're going to review a whole year's worth of applications within a week or 3 months. But we checked again, and within 1 day, the whole deadline jumped, and we made it. So I was able to stay here, and so that was a close one. All those things kind of they pushed me to do something that I was truly inspired to do. Unfortunately, when I graduated as an electrical engineer, I found that wasn't really my passion, which is, I guess, something that applies to the topic also. I try not to be scared of changing either where I'm going or what I'm doing in order to achieve what I want or what I think would make me happy. So I changed careers completely. So I went from doing electrical engineering, pure applied hardware design, and all the jobs that were available for me at that point, not being a permanent resident or a citizen. I got a lot of offerings to work at defense companies, which you build different devices for the government and stuff. which for some reason I don't know whether got offered to me because I don't qualify. I need to be a citizen to work in those places. But they were the only offerings that they gave me. So I was like, I don't think it's a good use of my intellect to develop such devices. I think I would like to help people both with my hands and with the very little knowledge that I have, And so I went in the direction of medicine. And so I came with the idea of wanting to be a doctor at some point, which it didn't end up happening, but I did become a biomedical engineer, and this was Johns Hopkins. So I moved to the East Coast maybe 5 years ago to pursue my degree in that. And it was a radical change because in order to be in anything involved with medicine academically, you need to have some research experience, which I had none. I had only textbook knowledge of how to design electronic devices. And so I came to Johns Hopkins, and they opened the door, and they gave me this huge opportunity of doing what's called a postbaccalaureate program, which essentially you do research, intensive research to get you acclimated to the whole environment. And my plan was to finish that program for a year and then apply and see if I could get to the master's. But I was just blessed that within maybe a month or two of being in that situation, I was able to apply to grad school right away. And I actually got in because of the recommendations and the word of people that were next to me. So I essentially saved a whole year and was able to get into the program. And I will say this not to brag, but just to show how blessed I am. Johns Hopkins is perhaps one of the only schools, and biomedical engineering is perhaps the only program in the nation that actually offers a full ride to their students. So I don't need to tell you how much money I saved, but I was very blessed to be able to do that. And so from there, I actually graduated 2 years ago, a little bit over 2 years ago, and I've been working as a biomedical engineer in a startup company next to the Johns Hopkins Hospital, actually. And that's one facet of me. And then the other, which has been a passion of mine since I can remember, has been music. So I'm also a musician, and I try to think. It's a weird combination because I think very logically as an engineer, but I try not to be governed by rules as an artist, as a musician. And I can talk about music on and on, so we'll save that for another time, or if you're interested, you can ask me more about that.
Yeah. And that's sort of how we met you, through a mutual friend of ours, Bill Petaway,
right,
who has sort of taken you under his wing. Yeah. And I don't know, I'm expecting big things out of you hanging with that guy. I'm really thinking like we'll be paying big money to come and see you on tour someday.
I wouldn't charge you too much. But if I may, I do want to take this chance to thank Bill, because before he is my music mentor, like, he's been a really good friend, and I'm sure I'm not the only one to say this, but I think that man is an angel. He has done so much for so many people without expecting anything in return that it's ridiculous. I sometimes people don't understand when he does what he does, but that's what makes him a great human being. So, Bill was the one who's been mentoring me and showing me the ropes in music and in life too, because being far away from my family. So my parents are in California still, and my sister is in Boston. So being far away from my family, it can get really lonely, and so it's hard to face certain things for yourself, And Bill, I've been really fortunate that aside from music, he's been a good mentor and friend, and he's really helped me out to succeed through these adversities that I would come as well. And Bill's also somebody who has experienced adversity himself. And something that I wanted to say is I try to, live vicariously, or at least try to see the perspective of people who have been through difficulties, like real difficulties, like illnesses or life-threatening situations, poverty, because from that, I think it's perceived very negatively, because I think the only thing you can think in your head is like, why is this happening to me, But I think from those experiences and that struggle, and failure and feeling miserable and getting back up, you come back up with a completely different feeling and perspective in life. And it's like this sense of urgency of like, and focus of like, certain things are not important. This is what's important. You know, I don't need to buy all these clothes and have all the jewelry when I don't have any friends, you know, like that's more important, you know. And people who go through those things seem to have these perspectives that, for one reason or another, I think the majority of people don't have, you know, and whether it be the media or society, I don't know what it is, but we tend to focus on the wrong things. And so I've had several friends of mine that have gone through those situations, and I try to, like, cling on to them and see how they see life, because it's really amazing how a situation like that can change your perspective in life and fuel you in a different direction.
Mm-hmm. It's really really interesting, fascinating to, I guess, to hear this piece. I mean, the idea, like, we're trying to discover, like, kind of the anatomy of the transformative experience and moving toward it. The idea of freedom is one, and I'm hearing too from what you're saying, the spirit world versus the world, the physical world, and those who have gone through and overcome even near-death experiences, that type of trauma, end up really loving life so much that the world piece or the material world isn't as attractive as the spirit.
Yes. And
now spirits start connecting. And when spirits connect, you don't really need too much more. I mean, the world is a beautiful place outside of all of the stuff that's built on top of it. You know, just the stars in the sky and without the neon lights that mess it all up.
Yes.
Just to be able to look up and see the beauty of the universe is a great thing. But how is that articulated to a population of people that are being fed commercial materialism as the epitome of greatness? And we have young people who need the clothes because the clothes are connected to love, because they didn't receive that type of love that wasn't connected to things. They believe that you show me you love me by the things you give me, not by a spiritual connection. And so how do we show a different side of it without these near-death experiences? Because once people go through that, like you said, you can tell immediately. It's almost the aha moment. I made it through. Wow, that stuff wasn't so important. I talked to probably thousands of seniors. Seniors get it at that point. Like, they have the aha moment, and they're like, wow, if I had known this before, I would have lived differently. It's like, how do we get it to our young people so they can start experiencing the joy and the love of life before it's that traumatic experience?
Well, that's what I was thinking, too, as I was listening to Nick speak about his experience, just in how you came here to the United States and the struggle that you went through with your family and how resilient your whole entire family was. I mean, like, to land on your feet, and it was not easy. And I'm sure as such a young child at the age of 14, it had to be scary, really scary. And to this day, it's so refreshing to hear how you held on and didn't let go of your faith. And I'm sure you attribute your faith to your family. And, I just applaud you for that, really, because there are so many people that are surrounding us every day that still don't get the message about things, how they're not important, to accumulate things, material things. That's not what's important. You wanted to make sure that you and your family were okay. I mean, I can't imagine what it's like to be threatened and to feel like I would have to flee my country.
I want to ask you about that piece too. Like, what did they want? Like the drug lords, and was it to, like, look, you work for us or it's your death? I mean, what is it that they wanted from?
Right. So at that point in my life, I was really young, so my dad chose to kind of shelter us from that. So I know very little of what actually happened. What I do know is my dad worked as an electrical engineer in Colombia, and I believe he owned a company there, and they were starting to be successful. And I think these people got word of the success that was coming, and they wanted to have a share of the profit. And so my understanding is they said, okay, we see that you're earning so and so, we want to have a percentage of your monthly earnings or whatever, or else. And so that's something, I don't know how the process went, or it was really obscure to me, and I guess I'm thankful for that I was sheltered from all those things. But I do know it was something that was very real. I mean, I don't think somebody could just up and leave perhaps 40 years of their life with their friends, their mother, their father, their sisters, all their belongings. Not that it really matters, but it's stuff that you've built over decades of work and tears and blood, and it's not easy. So I am sure that it was a very real threat for us to have to leave on such a short notice. And Ronnie, you are right when you say that. I attribute a lot of that to my family, and they've been the strength and the core of my strength to keep on going, because and I'm happy that I'm sure we have been the strength of my parents as well. I think that's why family and friends are so important. It's a unit, and before you have material possessions, you have friends, you have family that are very important, because what if you were to die, what can you take to the grave? You can't take anything of any of these material things, but you can take all the memories and all the love and all the respect that you've earned over the years, And I think that's what you should aim for, to build yourself spiritually and mentally and as a person, not to build yourself materially.
Yeah, I agree. Before we go into the break, we're going to take a quick call from Karan Purnell, and she's the chaplain of Higher Hope. So, good evening.
Good evening. I just wanted to let you know that I just really, truly enjoyed listening to this young man's truth. It's an amazing story, and to say hi to my son Bruce and to my daughter Ronnie, just to let you know that I may not be talking, but I'm listening, and it's a wonderful. This is truly a wonderful thing that you're doing. This is truly, and I know exactly what you mean when you say you get to that place where you know that you've come to a place where you no longer have to think about material things and things that are just not important, that love is all there is, that God is all there is, and that you can count on that. And to that young man, thank you for sharing. And to my son, I love you. And to Ronnie, I love you. And I'm just going to be listening now, okay?
All right. Good luck more. And Nick, that's right. Let me just ask you about your status before we go into a break. Have you married? Do you have any children?
No. I'm single can be.
I'm telling you, ladies, we have a good catch in the studio. Not that you need me to pub or anything, but really.
I appreciate that. But I don't know. I've been trying to focus, like we were talking earlier, on myself and my career. I feel like I'm just gonna be straight up honest. I feel like I've been alone and lonely for at times, but I feel like that is very important if you want to grow as an individual. I think being secluded, or either by choice or not, I think it's helped a lot to learn who I am. I think people don't do that nowadays. You know, they don't focus on themselves because there's so much going on. I feel like our attention span is being shortened by the second. On the internet, we don't take time to enjoy one thing because you're watching a video on YouTube and another one pops up and you're like, oh, I want to see that. I want to see that. Mm-hmm. People don't take the time to learn themselves and learn their craft and learn others anymore. I feel like in music, for example, what do you think? Well, I think that music was so good back in the day because that's all that people had. You had your instrument, and you had yourself, and you had maybe some friends, and that's all you did. You just sit there and learn that instrument and work on it, and you put your soul into that. Nowadays, you do have that available, but you also have technology that is very powerful, but I think under the wrong circumstances, it can get in the way at times, There's too much going on. I don't take the time to learn one thing and grow. I just spread myself thin, and I don't know. I'm trying not to do that. So I'm trying to focus on myself, like I said, and learning a lot about my craft, both engineering and music.
It's really unfortunate. I know I called you at the last minute. It's unfortunate that one of our guests, Cain, came down with the flu. So you were so gracious to accept my last-minute invitation to hurry up and get here. I should have asked you to bring your guitar. You could have played something. Dr. Bruce reminded me in our studio we happen to have a guitar 2 or 20. So perhaps before the end of the show we'll get you to take us out to break.
Perhaps.
But for now, I'm going to read something from one of our sponsors, and it's from Adam and Eyeez, the nation's largest marketer of adult products, with millions of satisfied customers in the United States, all over the world even. They were founded in 1971. Adam and Eve is also one of the oldest names in the rapidly evolving adult industry. To learn more about Adam and Eve and their products, visit our sponsor page on mwhyradio.com. And we'll see you right back here after the break. Stay tuned.
Hey, Chef Jovi here of the Eatsperience Radio Show. Join me 10 a.m. every Thursday to explore recipes, best restaurants, and food spots in and around the country. I look forward to receiving your comments, so follow us on Spreaker.com to tune into the show. That's SPREAKER.com. And search MWHY Radio to join me every Thursday, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time for the Eatsperience Radio Show. And remember to share your Eatsperience.
Hello, I'm Sherelle of Fit and Flow Yoga Radio. Wake up with me every Friday at 6 a.m. and have a wonderful yoga experience. We'll explore meditation and discuss how various yoga postures can help relieve your everyday stress. We'll also make the connection between our faith and wellness. Follow us on Spreaker.com to tune into the show. That's Spreaker, SPREAKER.com. And also search MWHY Radio to join me every Friday at 6 a.m. for Fit and Flow Yoga Radio with Sherelle. And until next time, surrender to your strength and always embrace your flow.
Incarceration doesn't just affect the one behind bars. It affects everyone. Here's your chance to let others know that being locked up leaves others locked down on the outside, hurting emotionally, economically, and spiritually. We want to know how you feel. Go to www.lovelockdownseries.com and make your creative voice heard. lovelockdownseries.com. We are listening.
Hi, my name is Letitia M., owner of May We Help You Network. I want to thank you for joining us and enjoying our hosts here on MWHY Radio Network. Please visit us online at mwhyradio.com and like us on Facebook.com/MWHY Radio. Tune in to learn more about our hosts and upcoming contests and our TV programming that'll be coming to you soon. MWHY Radio, bringing together business, community, and you.
And welcome back to Realize with Dr. Bruce and Ronnie. And in our studio, we have Nick Valentin. And right before the break, we were talking about your journey and how incredible it is. And do you mind if I ask you your age? Because in looking at you, if I had to guess, I wouldn't think you were, like a minute over 18.
Well, like Aaliyah said, ain't nothing but a number. But every time I ask people how old they think I am, well, how old do you think I am?
Like 18, maybe 20.
I think I get usually between 16 and 21, but yeah, I'm 28 years old at the moment. Yeah.
Wow. 28
years young.
28. Ladies, you copying this stuff down? Trying to get you some info here.
So you want to get back to the actual that faith piece. When you started to, well, one, I want to know if you had questions, like, am I going to make it through? Like, to the point where you became sure that you were. Like, at one point of uncertainty to you, like, well, look, I'm going to put it all in, and I'm going to create my destiny. Mm-hmm. I'm going to live on this higher plane, and look at the world from miles in the air, kind of piece. Like, how did that happen, and when do you start getting the confidence?
Right. I think I've always had questions, even to this day. I question myself whether I'm gonna make it. Like, what does that mean? First of all, that I think that's all relative. Like, what does it mean to make it in the music and entertainment? What does it make it in life? I think each person knows, and it's not defined by money or status. But I think I always did have questions, and like I said, even to this day, I question myself, what's tomorrow going to hold? Like, there's so many things that are uncertain in my life at the point. But I think, and with that comes confidence. Don't get me wrong, but I think being at that point of not being stable and being uncomfortable in a sense, I think is what's kept me on my toes. Because I think when you rest on your heels, you are not as fast, if that makes sense. I study a lot of musicians and people like Miles Davis and Wayne Shorter, Herbie Hancock, for example. They all are very spiritual people. And one of the things that has kept them alive musically for so long is that they're always putting themselves, I believe, in uncomfortable positions, like Miles, for example, would rotate his whole personnel of people who he played with younger people who are willing to take risks, because people who are comfortable and think they have accomplished everything, ideas don't bounce back. And without that balance, there's no growth. So I think being uncomfortable and in those situations is really important, and it's weird for me to say that because I think that's not what people want. You're always searching for that stability, and don't get me wrong, stability in a sense is necessary, but I feel for growth there needs to be a level of not being comfortable and not knowing what's coming, and to be honest, that's what makes it exciting to a level. If you knew what was coming, then why are you even living, And so being in that position, I think it's something that if you are in that position, you should be thankful for that and try to learn as much as possible from that.
That's a deep piece. So with that, we're going to go to caller Jonathan Hill.
Jonathan has been a great supporter of Realize with Dr. Bruce and Ronnie. Jonathan, we welcome you to the show.
How is everyone doing tonight?
All right.
We're doing great. We're
can you hear me?
Hey, John, hey.
We can hear you.
Hello.
Hello. Okay. Hello, John. Hello, John.
Yeah,
we can hear
think
you.
I'm here. Can you all hear me?
Yes.
Oh, okay, good. I'm sorry. So how's everyone doing tonight?
We're doing great. We heard you had a comment for us.
Yeah, I just wanted to comment on what the young man said. Forgive me for not remembering your name. I'm very sorry for that. But you were the only young man talking, so I figured I could go on that to be the fact that he understood what I was talking about.
Okay, well, his name is Nick.
Okay, Mr. Nick. Okay. And my comment was on how do we connect with our children. I think that's what Mr. Nick said about connecting with our younger people, and how do we get to that point. And by experience, I've seen a lot of people come to a point where they are spiritually aware. And I think that one of the things is that we don't take enough time to let our children understand the difference from being spiritual as opposed to being religious. And a lot of the things about religion they can't really they can't either accept or connect with, because they know nothing really truly about spirituality. But then religion goes even further away from their understanding. I think that once we begin to understand what we understand in a spiritual aspect, then it becomes our responsibility to go out to get these individuals any way possible, anyhow, like I said, in any way you can, and be able to help them understand, not so much as push them into the way of your understanding is, because everybody understands the spirit in a different way. Even the spirit that you are is a different spirit, and the Almighty Spirit connects with each other in a different way. So it's about getting them to understand where you came from. Let them know that, it's not about always being happy. It's about going through your experiences, gaining what you can gain from them, and then applying that to your life as it would apply and be helpful to your life, as opposed to anyone else's life. Not as opposed, but just as much as anybody else's life. And the fact that they can't connect with us because we're not connecting with them on a spiritual level. If you look at it, I feel like we're fighting spiritual warfare, but we're using physical ammunition, and you can't load a spiritual gun with physical ammunition. It's just not going to work. And the thing that I think that we all have to do as not just a people, but all people, is to let them know that once you get into a place where you can truly understand, that'll be that'll be your understanding of, once you get to a place where you are experiencing pain, that's not the time to run. That's the time to face it, because behind that pain is usually your healing, and it's usually a place where you can be put your foot on the ground and say, I've been through that. I can help the next person, and I understand it in a way that's going to help many, many more. But they won't even get to that point if we, as the adult people, don't go back, as Nick said, go back to the way we felt when we did music. And it wasn't about technology. It was about connecting with people, connecting with music, and making sure that everybody understood each other on a common ground, not necessarily having to agree with everybody else's opinion, but having the idea that we can agree on what an individual understands as opposed to forcing my understanding on you. So I think that we as adults need to just go back and as many young people as we can possible, as many organizations as we can possible, to get them into those things that doesn't always connect with the internet or technology. Put people in a room and young guys in a room and have them freestyle if that's what you do by music, or have them sing and really get a chance to connect with people, because that's what they're missing. I don't think we were put here to mingle with so much technology and not have a relationship with the people that we were actually here to help and to be helped by. So if we don't get to that, if we never get to that point of understanding that we have to help these young people, because they're not going to understand it, because they have their own community and we're not a part of their community. Their community is closed, like the young guy Nick said, closed, chains, jewelry, and things of that sort. It's never really people. So and that's what we need to get back to, people loving people. And once we get to that place, I don't believe that that's going to be something that we're going to have to force them to do. I think that it is addictive to be right with another spirit and be able to connect with that spirit almost with having no words said. Some people like myself and Dr. Bruce, sometimes when I see Dr. Bruce, when we see each other, is a connection, is a smile. I come to him with a smile. I see him, he has a smile. And no words really need to be said because we connect with you. I think that we connect on a spiritual level a lot of the time. So that being the case, I just think that if in order to get these young people to be on a level of spirituality and understanding people, then it's going to have to be people that do it and people that make them understand that every time you turn around, it doesn't have to be sweet and doesn't have to be happy, but it has to be people connecting with people. And that was the end of my comment.
Wow. Thanks so much, Brother Jonathan. I think, again, you're right on point. They're talking about a human experience. And I don't know, in this era, even in the caring community, we've become cases. And, people, instead of people having names, people now have case numbers, and they're assigned to case managers who are managing cases. And sometimes it's hard to get to be a human being. We have young people that think like their caseworkers are extended family, and they don't know outside of that. That's what they count on. Like people count on their uncles and aunts. They count on case managers, and it is a bit less than human. And we have some really good case managers, but they may have 50 cases, and so you have 50 young people to see in a week. So how much time can you really spend with each person? So I think we are losing a human experience, and maybe the internet is a way to substitute human interaction. Now we don't have time to talk, so everybody can share a piece of vicarious communication. I don't know. What's your thoughts about that, Nate?
Yeah, I think technology has blessed us in many different ways, giving everybody a platform to express what they feel and reach out to others and learn new things. But, I can't remember the quote exactly, but even Albert Einstein said, he feared the day that technology would replace, human interaction, I'm paraphrasing. And I think we're reaching that point, and I think eventually it's going to change because there's a lot of people who are really trying to make the human connection. I think it's important to leverage this technology to reach out and to a wider audience, but I think we can't let that lead us, if that makes sense. Mm-hmm. I think we'll get to that point either peacefully or it's either all just going to fall down and we're going to have to build from the bottom. I hope the latter is not true, but only time will tell.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things that you said before the break is you were, really thankful to your parents for being the type of parents that they are. And, they actually, you said, gave you the strength to really be strong and to get to the point where you are now. But let me just tell you from a parent's perspective, as a parent who has experienced some hardships, we parents also use you children as our strength to keep going. So I'm sure if we were to interview them, they would say that you and your sister were their driving motivation to really get you to a safe place. And I'm sure they applaud, your efforts and everything that you've done so far. Yeah. And Dr. Bruce, you're a parent, and as a parent, it's not easy. It's not easy with children, especially with all the temptations today, and Nick's telling us about, just staying focused. As a parent, why don't you share, some techniques, and not only as a parent, but as a psychologist. Like, give us some tips as parents, like, how can we have children that are more like Nick, that are really focused on, values and really keep their eyes on morals and being decent citizens, and, that's what we're looking for, but we don't see that often enough.
I think you're going to, right back to the very foundation of this, what this show was all about, which was, navigating traumatic environments and building the type of resilience that leads to transformative outcomes. And one thing that Nick attributed his success to and where he is the actual struggle and the idea of what is behind that struggle if you make it through, what the next level brings. So I think that, for our children, we have to, it has to be it has to be a safe playing field for them to experience and overcome the obstacles. Like right now, for a lot of our children, while we don't see that, it is resilience, but they're surviving. The children can expect to see somebody die, so they can expect to experience a homicide. They can expect to be bullied. They can expect to deal with having to join a neighborhood crew or be bullied again. They can expect to walk through all kinds of drugs, around them. So that's their normal environment. So to expect them to then be able to be ready for mainstream society is it's not even fair. And what happens is that when they show up with all they had to go through, which if you don't understand that coming in, that's why we're saying that you need to be informed of the traumatic environment that most children have to experience. If you're not informed, you may be re-traumatizing them by isolating them. Now, the child that really needs to be in this program gets put out because they couldn't comply, but their survival has been not complying, so it's a lack of understanding. So if they understand that you love them, first you got to like them. A dog will know that you don't like them, you don't love them. And if an animal has been abused, you can't even feed them. He will not eat until you go away. Yeah. So it's instinctively, anyone can, can know whether you love them or like them. So if you come and you don't like the child, it take up on me. You don't even like me. You don't break bread with me. You don't talk to me about anything but superficial. Like, you tell me who I need to be, but you don't understand who I am. So it's joining the context. Join the context before you judge. Before you judge somebody, any child, join their context and just let them know you love them. And whether they do something wrong and they have to go away for a little while and come back and say, look, I'm here. Look, it's whenever you're ready to go through a process, it's going to look like transformation, then we're going to do it. And, you'll gain a lot more than you will by imposing a foreign value system on a group, because you said they have to comply with these for you to like them. They have to comply with your standards and rules. It hasn't worked for the last probably 100 years. It hasn't worked. But also we got Brother Chucky Thompson in the house, and we definitely wanted to talk to you because you're another example of navigating traumatic environments, man. I mean, you're coming through the late '80s doing music. Yeah, early 80s, when DC's the murder cap, drugs everywhere, and the U.S. school whip rape and all the rest of the crew. And music, creative expression is kind of your avenue too, and really making it in that, man. We want to hear a little about, what that was for you.
Well, just to start and kind of piggyback off of what you were just saying, right? The part that I learned at an early age is, your circle, the circle of friends that you choose to hang with, to be with, can kind of shape some of your decisions. That peer pressure is real.
It's just I was fortunate, to have a father that, he allowed me to bring my friends in the house, and I thought that, even my friends would talk to me and be like, man, your father, you kind of getting over because I could just have, and I kind of started to think that way too, like, yeah, I can do whatever. Then I had a conversation with him, and he was like, stupid, I had all your friends around so I could see who you were around. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So you think you winning, I'm winning. But the thing of it is the people that were allowed to come over were actually good friends. Like during that time in the 80s, I used to toy with the thought because a lot of the associates of mine in school were actually in the drug game. So you seeing friends come from poverty to having the hottest clothes, the craziest cars. And I mean, at that time, they were ahead of the law. The law didn't understand what was going on with this drug thing. So there was a whole lot more that was getting allowed to get away with at that time. So, I mean, of course, if you standing around and all your friends are having all this abundance of money and they're doing all these different things, you're going to want to, or at least wonder or figure out if this is a way for me to get into that. So, but I actually had good friends that would be like, bruh, this is not for you. You know what I'm saying? You need to stay doing that music. And handling that. And here's a couple $2 for that. So I was just blessed to have good people around me. You know what I'm saying? Just to kind of keep me on a page because they saw something in me. So I would advise any kids right now. I even had to talk with my daughter today, just telling her, choose your friends wisely. You're starting to work now, and you're in these workplaces. I said, start coming in there, not as much makeup. You know what I mean? Just keep yourself looking a certain way. And you're going to get a whole other respect, and try to shift some of your energy towards, getting ahead because you never know. Just because you come in, I mean, if you come into work as the cashier, that's when people are going to look at you. But if you come into work and you're you're on the cashier's job, making sure the floor is straight, looking and making sure everything is done, you actually acting like a manager. You may be hired as a cashier. But your energy is showing that you have management skills, that you care about this job more than just taking money from them, and people will see that. Yeah. So when it comes time to start thinking about that next management position, they will think about you before they think about that list of people that they need to start having come in. So I'm just trying to get her to understand, you can make your situation what you want. You just got to have a mindset to do it. Now, when you're talking about these kids coming from these places, it's crazy. I've actually worked with an artist, and, her mother was on crack and her father. It was a real crazy situation. She had straight A's in school. You know what I mean? She wound up going to PACE. It's but she took a situation that most people would think was the worst situation. But she used that to every day, try to make her life better. This was the life that my parents had, but that doesn't have to be the life that I had. So I would just say, for anybody, I've always had inspiration through music, from looking at a young Teddy Riley coming into the game back in the 80s, it was still a very adult-friendly music game. But to have Teddy Riley come from that as a 21-year-old and make music that was more related to my lifestyle, me being a young person, it drove me to make more younger music. So, but I watched how Teddy worked his career. I watched, I just have good examples of people that to follow and cater. So I always would tell kids to have that. Who inspires you? Who's that? What's that thing that makes you want to just do whatever it is that you do? You may be a skateboarder. You may be, whatever it is. Who is that top person in that? And do you know their story? Do you know what it took for them to become, or for them to get at it? 9 times out of 10, their story is similar to yours, because I've seen more champions come from, poverty-driven situations than being comfortable, So even if you're coming from a poverty-stricken situation, you can still find yourself being comfortable with that lifestyle.
Yeah.
You know, and it's just a matter of you saying, you know what, I want better for myself. I see better for myself, you know.
Yeah. I think that's why it's so important to be able to highlight you and Nicolous and Bill Pettaway and all these other, you know, it's people who actually you may not know, but if you did, you would understand that I too can. And like you, some of the sister whose mother was on crack, and you would think that she may fall by the wayside. However, she's getting straight A's. That's the resilience piece we're talking about. Like, what inside you makes you strong enough to navigate the external environment, no matter what it is. So whatever you come against next, you're that much stronger. You know, you're benching 300. So it's like, you know, you go to the next set, you're ready. So, you know, what is it that makes some that strong? Others withdraw, and, you know, or the next group that's out there. I got, like, young brothers now, like some 13 years old, carrying guns. Not because they want to. They feel that they don't want to be caught without it. Like, if you say, like, come on, we're going to go do something, no, it takes a while for them to go in and say, no, we're not carrying any guns. They say, well, I don't feel safe without it.
You know what's crazy? I was talking to my daughter about that earlier, too. I was like, in my, you know, coming up through the 80s, like, right in the beginning, it was never about, like, it was rare that you saw anybody with a gun. The worst that would happen would be you get shot, you know, a couple of guys beat up on you one time. And that was it. Then once guns started coming into it, like, I was in the midst of DC's transformation where the guns started to come into the play. And I never thought about carrying a gun. I just never did, you know. Always had friends that could help if needed. But other than that, me, myself, I never thought or felt like I needed to. I just I grew up in the era where, you know, this is all you needed. You know what I mean? And just having the courage to stand up for what you believe in. So, I mean, that was all I felt I needed. So then, you know, once it all started, and I mean, at the time that it started happening, I got pictures of me and a couple of friends, and in that picture, one of the friends shot the other friend. You know, and I'm, you know, that's crazy to me that we were all like brothers at a time, and then here it is that, you know, once this drug thing really took over the city, I'm hearing the story about two of my friends, you know, and one is shot from the other one. The other one wound up getting shot and killed. But it's just, you know, when you have that going on, it's like, I don't know. It's right now what I teach my sons, you know, is, you know, stand up for what you believe in, but also be aware of your surroundings. You know, because 9 times out of 10, for me, from what I remember a man being, he didn't need no gun. He never would talk about having no gun. You know what I'm saying? He was just a man, face value. Yeah. So you can tell when it's what so-called a sucker being in the room, when he's first off just going a little bit too hard or just got too much food. Just be leery of that person. You know what I'm saying? Because 9 times out of 10, he had something that makes him feel that way. You know, and you just got to be smart and weigh it out. It's just totally different for them and the challenges that they face versus when I was in school.
But that's the piece, like, you know, it's ends up in how you navigate it. Like Nick's story, in Colombia, the drug cartel takes over. His father is successful electrical engineer. Now the drug cartel is extorting the entire community, so they want a peace. So because of the climate, and it's not, the family decision is that it's not safe enough. It's not safe. You go all the way, and now to another country. You come to America with nothing, and you had a successful business, and that's, you know, the drug piece. But I know we got to navigate to a commercial, but we're gonna come back. We're gonna go right back into it.
Right. And, you know, I feel really bad because Chucky kind of just walked in here and sat right down. And
family.
Yeah, I was going to say, you are family.
Oh, we needed some food on the table.
we got to cook you. But, you know, for anybody who doesn't know Chucky Thompson, I'm just going to give you a very brief snippet of who this man is. And all you got to do is Google him. He's got like 29,000 pages. Chucky, we all know you in the studio as somebody who was associated with Bad Boy Records. Back in the 90s, you had so many hits with Biggie and Mace and just
Mary J. Blige.
Yeah, I don't even want to start calling names. Faith Evans, you know, I don't want to drop names and leave anybody out. But, like, you're still doing it to this day. I mean, you are a huge, huge name in the recording business. So, you know, we really appreciate you coming in and blessing our airwaves.
My pleasure.
So I encourage everybody to stay tuned where you are. Don't move, because Chucky's coming back. Nick's coming back after this commercial message, because it's about that time again for the 5th annual Let's Get Serious Health, Wellness, and Fitness Expo. Those of you who have attended this expo before can attest to the fact that this event is nothing but pure family fun. So come on out again this year. Last year, Sheree Coalfield International hosted over 1,000 attendees. The goal this year is to have at least 1,300 registered attendees. Visit letsgetserious.eventbrite.com to register for this free event. Sponsorship and vendor opportunities are still available. Catch you on the other side of the break. Stay tuned for more Real Eyes with Dr. Bruce and Ronnie.
The Tanya Free and Friends Talk Show is happy to announce our partnership with the May We Help You Radio Network. You can now catch the rebroadcast of our Wednesday show every Thursday at 6 p.m. That's Tanya Free and Friends, the podcast, every Thursday evening at 6 p.m. We welcome your comments and opinions 24/7 at TanyaFree.com, Facebook and Twitter, or send me a text by texting the word Tanya at 72727. Tanya Free and Friends, and May We Help You Radio. Living life with a purpose.
Are you frustrated, disappointed, discouraged with your life? Are you angry with God? What's holding you back from fulfilling your purpose? Are you struggling as a leader in ministry? Do you believe you have an end-time calling? If you answered yes to any of these questions, tune in to The Waymakers on MWHY Radio Network every other Friday at 11 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. We are here to support you. Join us to get the answers that will prepare the way of the Lord in your life.
The Queen Esther Radio Show is live every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Join me, Jessica Taylor,
and me, Jason Mosley, to be entertained by authors, artists, and spiritual leaders.
We look forward to being a blessing in your life every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Only on the MWHY Radio Network.
The Queen Esther Radio Show.
Hey, this is Coffee Black, coming through to bring you the latest in sports, celebrity, and entertainment news. Here's the tip this week. So, baby daddy Chris Brown refuses to comment on this baby scandal. The baby mama's ex-husband and other possible father are saying enough for everyone. Moving on. Oprah Winfrey has closed down Harpo Studios in Chicago. She laid off 200-some employees that couldn't make the move to Los Angeles to the own studios. But ain't nothing wrong with consolidating. Marshawn Lynch signed a 3-year, $31 million contract with the Seahawks. But I wonder how much of that will actually go to future funds. Lastly, it looks like Nick Gordon is in rehab. Who that? You know, Bobby Christina's brother/husband. Well, he went on Dr. Phil and rehab from there. I'm happy he went, but the timing reeks of exploitation. I'm just saying. Check out my site, thesipwithcoffeeblack.com, and tune in next week to The Sip with Coffee Black. No sugar, no cream.
Welcome back to Realize with Dr. Bruce and Ronnie. In the studio, we have Nick and we have Chucky, and I don't want to leave out our devoted and talented cameraman, Alonzo Brown, who joins us every single week. Dr. Bruce, during the break, you said you wanted to talk a little bit about this show that's trending. I don't know why it is, but I think people are familiar with the show Empire. And we all, I'm sure, have our view about what we think about Empire. I'm going to start off with you.
Yeah.
What's your take on this new show?
Well, again, it's a huge debate. We're definitely in the African American community whether or not this show is damaging the collective psyche of Black America. Well, definitely it's cool that we have y'all here. One, because Nicolous and I'm with Bill Pettaway, y'all actually wrote some of the music for Empire with Timberland and Chucky. Just your knowledge that we want to talk to you too about just from a media perspective. Like you have a show now that's really hiring more Black actors than you have seen on TV in a long time. But is it strategically hurting? Like, is it something? Is it a social bad for this to exist, or what's y'all feeling on this?
Well, I think I'm relatively new to the music business, but I think it exposes certain realities that are good for people to see because people have this concept or idea of what it is to be in the music, and I think it's all the glamour and stuff. There's a lot of definitely a lot of bad things that go, and that's not only for the music, that's for entertainment or any other business really. But I think the bottom line is, as people, we should take. Why do we have to take the negative from that? There's always a positive thing that comes from that. So, I was reading this book. I believe it's called The 50 Laws of Power by Robert Greene, and he speaks about 50 Cent, for example, how he came up. And it's true that he came from poverty and he had to go through all these dealings with drugs and all this stuff to get where he is. But within that, you can either take the message, go on and sell drugs, or you can take the message, this struggle and this attitude and this way of thinking is going to get me to something that can get me out of this poverty and out of selling drugs. It can make you somebody. And so I think people that watch the show should first have in mind that it's a show. It's supposed to be controversial. It's supposed to want to grab your attention. But you should try to see it as what it is. And try to learn the positive from it. Whether it puts the Black community down or why not Latin American community? Why not White community? There's music everywhere. And I think the situations are pretty much the same. There's corruption, but there's also love and there's strength. There's stuff to learn from. And there's stuff to stay away from, But I think as long as you're aware of these things, you can pick and choose what you decide to utilize in your own life and what you reject.
Yeah, like I said, I haven't really watched a lot of the show because it's my life. It's kind of weird to have to live my life and then watch her TV. But I mean, I've been keeping up with a couple of things. Like I've saw certain posts where Taraji's kind of defending, but she's saying it in a way where, it's good to have these conversations. It's good to have this image of what it takes to run an empire, and just the different walks of life of just running a company or just dealing with life. Period. That to put that out there is a good conversation. It's getting a lot of people talking and thinking about things. So I think for that part, it's definitely a plus. Because it's trending heavy. I'm seeing people post memes of they leaving their mother and stuff to go see him, to go watch the show. So it has that piece to it. So I applaud it. I think that for it to just have been on TV for that little bit of time and to make the impact of this thing is doing something. I mean, like you just said, it's hiring a lot of people. So I think that they need to keep up the good work. What's being done on that show is doing what most people would want their shows to do. I think anybody's show that's suffering right now would love to have, their show doing what this show is doing. So I say congrats.
Yeah.
But should we really just let numbers and popularity overtake what I consider morality? I mean, to me, I think this show, I am not a fan of the show. I'll just keep it like that. And I think it makes a mockery of black people, really. I don't think black people are as cartoonish as the show. And then again, it is a show. It's a show. And I try to remind myself of that. But, I mean, if I'm online, on Facebook in particular, when the show is on, I mean, my timeline is flooded with everything Empire. And I just wonder, about the type of people that are so intrigued with a show such as Empire. Like, what is the appeal?
When you say type of people, you're talking about the collective. And it's almost like, if you talk about the masses that actually love this show, the masses love the show, and it's minority or the conscious tenth that may say that, hey, this is less than the identity that I want to see projected. But I looked at a few pieces of the character, like for example, like Lucius, who is running the Empire, and we've had some debates about it. But one thing that they didn't do is glorify the character. Like, I definitely have a problem if you glorify this character where my young people want to be him. This brother's dying from ALS. He has major problems. Like, it's a problem in every aspect of his life is his problem. So one thing that you would see as a young brother who may just, I want the Empire, is like, hey, do I want to be Lucius? Probably not. I mean, there's some big problems that come with that money. Yeah. And if you say, do I want to be Cookie? Cookie did 17 years in jail because she, so, and she gets out and she has to be a side chick. So as a young sister, do I want to be Cookie? Probably not. Probably not.
But I still put it on entertainment, I'm going to be real with you. Right before this show, it was a show called Love and Hip Hop. And I would consider Love and Hip Hop to be the new Cosby Show. And it's crazy. Let me just say why it's crazy. Ratchet TV right now. It's entertainment. Yeah. I've been at Christmas dinners, and Love and Hip Hop comes on, and everybody's like, it's on. And then next thing you know, the room is crowded. And you have all kinds of faces in that room. You have some faces that's happy that it's on. You got some faces that's looking at it like, what is this crap? Yeah. But at the end of the day, it's still entertainment.
But one thing, like, real quick, and then just with that to that point. One thing though that we may have to really look at is that what happens when that's normalized. Like when even the dress, the language, and like so. For example, if young sisters are looking at this and they're saying that this is how you get a successful man, and this is what a relationship looks like. If they can't see it as entertainment and something that's less than reality, if they see it as reality and they adopt these characteristics, then what does that mean for the future generation? And the reason it's so scary is because I start to see people looking like these characters on the norm.
Right.
And that means, like, if it was like say, for example, if it was the Terminator, if I saw young white males dressed up like the Terminator or Batman in the street, I'd be like, yeah, right, but, it's entertainment. But you don't see, like,
But I actually had a conversation with somebody. Okay. And even in that room, even for that Thanksgiving dinner when we were all in the room watching it, it was conversations going.
Mm-hmm.
So it wasn't like it was being accepted. It was just a means to talk about some things. Look at how she's dealing with this relationship.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think? I don't do it that way. So it's like, it's still going to start with that family structure. Now, everybody's not blessed to have, certain people talk to them to give them a clear understanding. Okay, this is this, and then not to take away from anybody's lifestyle. This is their particular lifestyle. This is a lifestyle that we live, and understand the difference between the two. You know, I was talking to somebody about, and she was just like, I used to go to the strip club, and I used to see, you know, low self-esteem, fatherless women, and they were here. Now I go anywhere, and it's like stripper everywhere. It's not like
it's normalized.
Spilling over. And, I mean, it's just, to me...
Is that a bad thing?
I just feel like that whole drug time really affected things. It's impossible. And I always say this. For a person to make millions of dollars off of pumping drugs and then not affect the community or affect some part of, you know, and you have a lot of broken families because of the way drugs were pumped. You know, people had ways that was their release. You know, I got a family, I can't feed them. Let me get turned up. You know what I mean? And now I'm on the streets because I done turned everything into me not dealing with my situation. So
that
we're going to have,
that
you know,
mindset is so crazy, though. For example, I had a group, I'm not going to say exactly where it was, but they were 14 to 19-year-olds. It was a whole group. And the question was, if I gave you $10,000 a week, would you feed rat poisoning to your family and community, and if nobody knew it was you? Unanimously, yes. Only one of them was like, no. And the entire group, rest of them was like $10,000 a week. Yeah, I poisoned my family and community for $10,000 a week. So I'm like, if this is the mindset that is coming, like, it's like, when is it entertainment? Like, you can watch it, y'all can have a discussion about it, like, wow, you know what I mean? It's for discussion. But you say somebody who doesn't have that conscious group around, then it's reality, or this is where I want to be. So,
but I think that's always been in existence. I mean, because we've always had artists who express themselves in a way where it's not made for TV or made for the radio. You know, and we used to be in the basement listening to Richard Pryor and, you know, just kind of getting a feel for what adult life was like.
At a young age. Basement, though, because it wasn't normalized. It wasn't okay. Like, you know.
But then you still had kids that we went to school with that just had their uncle that played it for them.
Right.
So, you know, but I just feel like it's just been a shift. And, I mean, when you tell me a story like that, and I think about back when I was little, you know, we'd be in the alley breaking bottles, and somebody would come up and say, "Stupid, what are you doing?" I mean, they just weren't afraid to engage. Nowadays, people are afraid to just talk to a kid, you know, and it's like that separation. And, you know, for our people, we cannot be afraid of our people right now. They may need to hear that, but like you said earlier, it's about you have to relate to them. You have to let them feel like, look, I'm from there too. You know what I'm saying? Because they're not gonna understand what you're talking about unless they can feel that you have some connection to them. You know, I feel like this when I'm talking to my kids. I have to throw all my crap on the table. I got to embarrass myself so they can understand that, listen, man, you're not telling me nothing new. I've done this, so all I'm saying is I want to know the real you. I don't want to know this fake person. Like, don't, you know what I'm saying? I want to know the real you, whatever it is. So I don't want you to feel like, you know, I haven't been there or I haven't done nothing. I told you a bunch of crap I did. So now I'm just saying we have to have that line open, you know. But that's what I feel needs to happen, period. Like, if you see a kid and you know he had some issues, you know, maybe just kick it with him. Because I always feel like that whole Willie Lynch thing kind of separated a lot of things, you know what I mean? And you have that, but then it's just a matter of just talking to someone. You know, you can see that process happening. It's just to come in and engage. You know, but music is definitely one of the top winning ways to engage like that, you know, to let them know that you even listen to some of the music they listen. If you were to just connect with one of the artists that maybe we probably would feel is like, what is that? But if you were to just connect with why, because we've had our time with new music and our wild out moments. And I even talk to my daughters like that. You know, everybody has that moment that they just wild out, and you know, and you get that out your system. So when it's time to be an adult, you're not having those issues. Still feeling like you're a kid. That's what I feel is happening now. Even a lot of the grown-ups, so-called grown-ups, are still in their second childhood. They just won't take on the next level, you know. And a part of that, like I said, is just reaching out to some of these kids, man. If you see somebody that may need to just hear some words or just, you know, a connection.
Yeah, I agree with you. And I think now being in the music business, exposed to it a little bit, you know, I've come to find that people approach other people very in a weird way. Because, for example, when you see a celebrity, I think that most people would freak out and be like, oh, my God, it's whoever. But they forget that before that person is a celebrity, they're a human being, you know. Before your doctor is a doctor, he's a person. Before your son or daughter is a kid, you know, is in their own world, you know, they're still human beings, and there's still a certain level of commonality that you can reach out to. So I agree with what you're saying. Like, sometimes all it takes is just relating, just hanging out, just being with and being around. Because not only is that the way to grow, is the way where opportunity can come about. You know, just being in the music, what I've learned is to be successful, all you got to do is just be yourself, be honest to God, to yourself and to God, you know, and just experience everything for the moment. You know, if you're in that moment, then doors will open. You know, you'll connect to different people, you'll learn, and don't do it because I want to make money. You know, I wanna get my name out there. I want to do this and that. Just do it because of, if you want to hang out with some people. You know, you want to hang out with people that are like-minded, that have some commonality. You know, because like I said, no matter what discipline you're into, you're a human being. So there is some commonality. So I think that's important. And if you understand that, you know, I think that's, I guess, a beginning to being able to relate either to your children or just to anybody.
Because, I mean, even piggybacking off what you said, it's like that's what we look for sometimes. You know, we could come and meet the most eligible writer, you know, he got all these statistics or whatever. And this guy right here, nobody knows, but he's just cool to hang with. You know what I mean? It's cool. There's a good vibe about him. I would choose him over this guy any day, because just because you have all these accolades and you're an asshole, then you're kind of defeating the accolades. It's not working out. But then here's a guy who's willing to learn, who has some idea of what's going on, and just, you know, a fly on the wall. Yeah. He's going to be the one that we call, you know what I mean? Because I catch a vibe from him. So it's helping me create some different things. So you're right. You're 1,000% right with that. You know, it's just be a person at some point. You know, and everybody loves something. Even if you're the most difficult person, you love something. So sometimes you just have to, you know, find that thing that you love and, you know, invest in that.
That's really deep, man. I mean, really, if we were to strip all the physicals, all the titles, all the accolades, if we were to strip it all, there's nothing left but energy. The energy left. So what does this energy do? Like, what does it do? And, you know, so if the energies can't connect, especially if it's positive, man, and vibrant and colorful, man, like that, it wants to connect. So it's like the physical, like all of the things that we learn to be, we almost have to drop to be able to connect an energy. And to connect the energy, man, the strongest thing can come out of that. But, you know, we got to break down all of the things they tell us.
I think that's why I have a problem with these quote-unquote reality shows. They're not reality, and so many people take it so seriously. I mean, like, you know, if you look online right before Empire comes on or Scandal, it's like, don't call me, you know, my show's about to come on, and, you know, and all this sort of stuff. And the bigger problem that I have with it is that on Thursdays, when I walk in to work with my group of little babies that are from 7 to 16-year-olds, they all come to me and they want to know, did you watch Empire last night? And I go, no, I didn't. Did you? And they all have watched it. And I'm thinking, what is wrong with these parents? Because we already say, like, you know, TV is raising our children. So I have a big problem with these children staying up with, I think it's past the bedtime to watch it, and the fact that they know everything that's going on. They know everything about the characters. They've been exposed to some pretty racy scenes that are not being explained to them. And I don't know if their young minds are seeing this as reality and people really live like this, or are they able to process like it's just a show, it's fantasy?
I think if you go back to when you asked me for the strategies and I was actually describing the characteristics of the environment that we're talking about, where kids are, they've been exposed to homicides, they've been exposed to, I mean, if you think about being exposed to a homicide and it's become more like, well, it's not such a big deal, then you can take the whole gamut and say pretty much exposure, being exposed to everything. So that's not that even extreme, even though to you, like, you look at it like, wow, you know, how can you even, they already know a lot of these things. So I think the fact that it's happening is kind of not for you to judge, although like we want to have a social interpretation of what we want society to look like and how we want to influence it for the best of humanity. But if any of us determine that we have we know what's best for humanity, then we're off. Like, you know, at that point, I think all we can do is go in humbly and give our truth. And if your truth is that, look, like, I don't think that you should be exposed to that. That is my truth. But what do you know, and you kind of guide them through the piece of understanding that, you know, that's not the way you want to look at the world. But if you judge it off the top, then you won't even be able to, because you're condemning the parents already. But, you know, within that value system, it's not wrong. You know what I mean? So if it's not wrong as a parent, if I don't feel like I'm damaging my child, if you come in and look at it like, oh, that's abusive almost to let them watch that, now you're condemning them. So there can never be a connection between you and the parent because you've condemned them already. So they have to defend, you know, the way you're looking at them.
Well, let me ask you this. When they come in like that, what's your response?
I do ask them.
Because I feel like that's a blessing to have you in their lives.
Yeah. Even
to question, you know, what's happening. Even if you were to question them on what do they feel about the show.
Oh, we've had discussions.
I'm pretty sure that.
Oh, yes, we talk about it every week.
But that's a blessing that they have, you know, you to even bring their brains to.
Yeah, and I don't mean to sound judgmental, and I know that's something that I'm really working on because I do think I know how everything should work. But, you know, it's like as a parent, I just put myself in the position of almost being a parent to these children. I'm so attached to them, and I just want so much for them. I want the best for them. I really do. I mean, my anxiety comes from a really good place, and I may not always express it in that way.
You're not affecting them because a lot of the teachers that I remember were the ones that were not with what was happening hip or socially at the time I was a kid. It was always the one that was like, those are the ones that, you know, you hated them then, but those are the ones you remember because they cared enough to not even get caught up in whatever socially you're doing. That's not their job right now. Their job is to get you to focus on something that's way beyond your life right now.
Well, it's all about respect for me. I want them to respect themselves. I want them to respect the environment and, you know, I want them to know about love, what love really looks like. Like seeing people jump in and out of bed and sleeping together, that's not love.
They need you to say
that. So those are the discussions we have, but I'll reserve.
But I think that is what you're saying. I think that is the conversation, though, like that, and that is what a show like Empire will bring that conversation, and that is it. Like, you know, what is our interpretation of this because it's happening. I mean, you see sex on The Simpsons and Family Guy. The animated shows are very much there, like and it's almost like it's a subtext.
Yeah.
That, and if you understand the subtext, it's almost like you can watch it, your child won't get it, but you get it, like, whoa, I
always felt like if you wanted to get some crazy messages across, use cartoons.
Yeah.
Because they allow so much. It's terrible. But I remember being a kid and watching the Flintstones and stuff like that, and that was really more for adults. So you talk about the type of things that were going on, but it was just a different time. It was way more conservative than now. But you'll see, if you were to sit and watch some of these shows, it's crazy.
Even like South Park, they're supposed to be children,
man.
They
try to have rated M. They'll let you know what shows to let your kids watch and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But it still goes back to parenting.
Wow. I almost hate taking a break, but it's that time in the show where we're going to take our last break of the evening, come back with more discussion about transformation. This is a good conversation tonight. We're currently surveying our listeners to learn more about you, the listener. Please take a few minutes and visit our website and click on the listener survey link found on the home page, and that would be on the May We Help You Radio Network, www.mwhyradio.com. We'll see you right after this break. Stay tuned.
Hi, this is Benita with Off the Vine. Join us on Fridays at 3 o'clock for fun talk about wine. This season, I'm going to put this little sommelier certification to work as we expand the conversation to talk about beer and spirits too. Meet more exciting special guests, and you never know just who may show up at the studio. Off the Vine with Benita on the May We Help You Radio Network, giving you something to whine about.
Hi, this is Capri Smith of the Uncuffed Radio Show. Join me every Saturday at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time to learn how you can grow in your business, personal environment, and reach your true potential while uncuffing what is binding you. Only on the May We Help You Radio Network.
To all of my female entrepreneurs, it's time to expand your region and business profits. Are you networking in the same locale and viewing the same guest list over and over? Do you find your colleagues are referring new business and its clients that you already have in your portfolio? Are you industry stagnant? And are your social groups and events filled with the same people? If you answer yes to just one of these questions, it's time to expand internationally. You are cordially invited to petition for attendance to an all-female, exclusive, and private event featuring the Power of 52 Women, the East Coast International Business Symposium, hosted by rockstar entrepreneur and international business consultant Erica A. Murray and multimedia distributor and expert Letitia M., and moderator Ms. Joan Henry of the Women's Entrepreneur Expo, beginning February 28, 2015 in Baltimore, Maryland, March 28 in New York, April 18th in Washington, D.C., May the 23rd in Atlanta, Georgia, June the 20th in Boston, Massachusetts, and September, Africa. If you are serious about your business, don't miss this event. Go to www.thepowerof52women.com for more information. Once again, go to www.thepowerof52women.com and register today. This is an event you don't want to miss.
To the show. Dr. Bruce, during our break, you were talking about our ancestors, the ones who came before us, paving the way, helping us get to where we are. And I know that you had some comments that you wanted to address directly to Nick.
Well, actually, both Nick and Chucky, because I mean, one thing that Nick was saying earlier is that and the motivation that comes from knowing the sacrifices that your people have made before you. So, like, it propels you to have to go through the next obstacle. And, that's been a piece, like, I feel history is extremely important, for our young people, because a lot of them don't know the sacrifices that were made for them to have opportunities that they have today. Because they don't know it, they have to buy into the first thing. The next commercial becomes their history. But Nick, I want you to, if you could, expound on that a little bit, and then show you the importance of history, man, and how we develop, the kind of motivation that leads to transformation.
Right. Yeah. I think one of my greatest motivations, and it's a blessing, really, and it's gonna sound weird, but it's to see my parents fail. Not because I'm glad that they failed, at many different things, but it's because of the way I saw them handle that failure. Because I believe it was John who was earlier talking about, like, how do you connect with your children, or how do you lead them in a certain way. I think it's cliche, but I think that actions do speak louder than words. So the more you tell your child, for example, tell your daughter, don't date this guy, the more she's going to want to date that guy. Mm-hmm. But if you show him, how you handle certain situations, I think they absorb more from that. So if they see you fail, it's one thing, but if you get up, it's more powerful. And I think that was something that to this day is one of my main motivations. Like, another thing I wanted to address this along those lines is also how important this failure is. Because if you look at it from, like, a neuroscience perspective, for example, in our brain, like in our brain, our neurons, the connections are actually strengthened every time you make a mistake and the brain corrects for it, your synapses are actually strengthened, and you learn from that. Mm-hmm. So if you go back to biology, you can learn from that. If you extrapolate that to real life, the more you fail, the more you learn. If you're afraid to fail, that means you're afraid to learn and to grow, And so I think the more you become comfortable with learning, with asking questions, there's no such thing as dumb questions, really. Those are usually the most important questions, actually. Because if you know the basics of whatever it is you want to know about, then everything relies on that, like you're saying. We all rely on our ancestors, we all rely on that example. And I think that's what's important. And going back to the show, just to touch upon it briefly, like Chucky and I were talking about, you gotta discern that it's entertainment, and that's what it is. Take it for that value, I think the problem is where people can make that distinction, when people don't have either the discipline or other people to guide them and show them that that's not what they should follow. That's what potentially be a problem, As long as you understand that, then there shouldn't be an issue, but that's a problem. I think that it's difficult as human beings for us to make that distinction a lot of the times. But I just wanted to emphasize the whole failure thing, because I think failing at business, failing at friendships, failing at relationships, I think is the only way you learn, and, like, you can apply this to absolutely anything.
I've definitely strengthened my mission because of people that have done it before. I'm just feeling like, okay, if they were able to do it at that particular time when they were doing it, when I'm pretty sure it was way more to deal with, whether it was racial, whatever reason it was a pioneering time for them. I always felt like, I'm in my time. Mm-hmm. So there has to be a pioneering time for me too. I have to take on a section that nobody has broken ground with and figure out, how do I make my mark? How do I leave my piece for society? That type of thing. But that was always for me, just the strength to make me want to climb higher or want to just discover something new or anything like that. And then I think you had touched on talking about failure, just how you come back from failure. Like Dr. Seuss, man, just throw him on the table. He said something that was crazy. He had said, I love nonsense because it wakes your brain up. Like, dealing with nonsense, have your mind thinking a certain way. So he looks forward to nonsense. That's a weird way of looking at things. But really, if you think about all the nonsense that you've had to deal with, it makes your brain work twice because, first off, you're dealing with the nonsense of what just happened that may not be, or this may have been something that didn't even need to happen. Then you're trying to figure out, how do I make sense out of it? How do I turn that around and make that a positive? So, yeah, you definitely are faced with challenges when you're trying to make it, period, but you have to look at the things that you have to have. You have to have the right people around you. I was talking to Bob Johnson, the creator of BET. I just had a random conversation with him because I was did some work for his son a while back. And I just rapped to him. I said, so is it any different between a deal that's done on this level versus a deal that's done on a crazy level? And he was like, nope, it's the same two things that exist for both. It's the idea and the people. So you have to have a good idea. It has to be a solid idea. But then the people that you got involved. So it goes back to what I was saying about having the right. You have to make executive decisions. One documentary that I always watch is, if you can catch it, it's the Foo Fighters, Back and Forth. You ever seen that?
I've seen it. I love them.
If you look at that, it's like they basically have made it through adversity. That whole climb for the Foo Fighters comes from situations that weren't supposed to happen. I mean, he's playing with Nirvana, and, rest his soul, Kurt Cobain passed. So now you're one of the top groups in the world. How do you bounce back from that? So he takes a week in a studio and just goes in there and hammers out a bunch of ideas that he had for 1 week. Creates this group because he didn't want it to be associated with Nirvana or anything, so he comes with the Foo Fighters. And from that's the first album that was that they put out. It was just all him with the just feeling like he just wanted to get out of his system a bunch of feelings, and that became the first record, and they won a Grammy with that.
Wow.
But that it doesn't stop there. I'm not going to give the whole documentary up, but it's crazy. They played Wimbledon. It's like an 80,000 seater. They thought that they would have to promote that show for months. It sold out in like a day. They did 2 shows. I mean, killed it. 80,000 people. That's a crazy amount of people. Right after that, what do you do after Wimbledon? After that, he buys a house in Virginia and puts a studio in his basement. It's like, from one thing, okay, let's start over. It's like, to me, I'm one of those type of people. Sometimes fishing to a real fisherman is not about eating a bunch of fish. It's just catching it. They catch it, let it go. And start all over again. So I feel like I'm a real sportsman. I like to catch the fish and just let it go and start all over. Because, that's a part of your investment to be considered. You can do it. Everybody can. It's easy to get there. Maintaining it, that's when it gets real.
Well, I mean, that's one of the things when I think about you and the level of success that you've had throughout your career in a very competitive career choice. I mean, when did you first get the desire to actually work in the music business, and what's kept you hungry and in the game this long?
To be honest, it's always been the youth. I'm 46 years old. I'm throwing that out there. But I don't live like a 46-year-old, I love new music. I love new sounds. I love new everything. So that was one of the things that drove me to get into it. It was one time when I first started, I'm listening to all these funk records, listening to Parliament, Funkadelic. And I went over to my cousin's house, and he had a Rare Essence tape. I never heard no Rare Essence from D.C. Mm-hmm. This is like maybe 79. And I hear this, and I'm like, what is that? That's not that. That's right. Not these records I've been listening to. Mm-hmm. That's all. It feels like that, but it's not that.
Yeah.
So it drove me to find out more about that. So I started playing in a lot of, I was at the Howard Theater in the 6th grade. Mm-hmm. That tells you the mentality of the people that was working at the Howard Theater. Yeah. I was at the Howard Theater in the 6th grade. I got my friends to talk to, my parents to talk to me in the going, to talk them into letting me go. But, it was life-changing, But it was always that new, young, this is not on the radio. This has nothing to do with the radio. This is just something that's being created in the street, and it's different. And right now, to this day, it's the same thing happening. All this new music happens. Like, we didn't have the internet. We didn't have a way of speaking to somebody in China now, you know what I'm saying, for free. You can do that now. So it opens up a whole other side of music, sounds, culture, and I'm a fan of it, I'm a fan of what music is doing right now.
I think that piece, I really hope the audience is really picking up on, the purpose. And, we can go back to the show itself. It's to kind of tap into what transformation feels like. And so people can understand that if you go through a process, then you can actually be in life for reasons that it feels good to you. So you can hear, like, the music, like you said, as far as fishing, it's not about eating a bunch of fish. It's about the sport. Yeah. So you get into the craft, you something you love, you do it anyway. So it's not about this other thing, and people were saying, it's about the fame, it's about this, or it's about being a celebrity. It's about the fact that I get to do music. I'm blessed enough to do something that I love to do, and of course it's going to be successful because you're doing something you love to do because the energy's in the right place. And so for the young people to really understand that, you to discover what you love. Don't get into really I have to make money. Things I have to do. Find out what you love, what your God-given talent is. It's something inside of you that you were supposed to do. And if you tap into that and start to become that, then it's all going to make sense. It's not going to be about the other things anymore. It's going to be about that, and it's going to generate all the things that you believe that you need.
But you have to have people around you that, that want to invest in, their passions like that. Mm-hmm. Rest in peace, my father. But, he wanted me to have a job, He just wanted me to be, but then somewhere in there he knew I had something special. So I played 7 or 8 different instruments at the age of 4 or 5. Like, I was crazy. I could have been that crazy Michael Jackson kid. You know what I'm saying? But for whatever it's worth, he saw something special in me that he allowed me to explore my talent, and most parents aren't like that. It's always that you need something to fall back on. And I understand that, yeah. In this business, trust me, in this business, you definitely have to have something to fall back on because this is a here today go. It's based on people's likes and dislikes. Mm-hmm. 1 minute they love you, next minute they love something else. And this is right now, this Instagram stage, it's instant that they love you now and be on something else later. So I would advise people to focus on something to fall back on, but focus more on something that you love. If you love to get up at 4, if I came and said, all right, it's 4 o'clock in the morning and we got to go, what's that thing that's going to make you jump out of bed to go? Versus, man, I got to get ready. You know what I mean? Because if you're young, I'll tell any young person this, at a young age and you have the choice, you don't want to have to do something because you have to do it. There's more people out, and these are the people that are into empire like that. The ones that have to live a certain way, they look at empire as it's almost an outlet. It's almost like a fantasy to them to even be able to think or live like that because their lives are nowhere near that.
Yeah.
So, like I said, it has both sides of that coin. It has a thing where I'm gonna be real with you. It's a real life situation. It's not like they're coming from out of the air and just trying to showcase the negative, because trust me, and everybody's family is somewhere is real life going on. So it's just a matter of, okay, how much does real life play into me being successful? How much does this real life play into me, making a difference? And sometimes, I'm not going to get too deep into it, but I was over a friend's house. He had a art exhibit in his house, and he had a picture. It was dark. It was like nighttime, and it had some people in the water. It had some people walking away. It had some people close to the camera. It had some people by the tree, and the name of the picture was The Righteous Path. So it just let me know that it's not bright, and you don't know how you're going to get there, because be anything that can bring you to the righteous path. Sometimes it's something negative, but the righteous path, as long as you're on that path, you get there. So like I said, I try to find the good in every situation, as much as possible. But I know that this world has a lot of things that aren't so positive. You just have to say, you know what, there's a reason for everything.
Well, I see you, whenever I'm here, you're next door, day in, day out, you're still grinding, you're still hustling, you're still making things happen. And every time I have the opportunity to talk to you, you're still always so upbeat. You've got, great energy. And, so I can tell that you really love what you do. It's really amazing.
But that's what it's about, though. And I agree with Ronnie. That was it's things that you see in people. And for me, ends up being not everything else, because I think it's just be stress related. Then it's the energy, who's the inner soul of the person I'm talking to. Because other things we talk about navigating the environment, traumatic experiences. We have to react to traumatic experiences. And, unfortunately, even though you say it's not about money, a lot of times the absence of money can produce a traumatic experience. So now you have to react to the fact of not having money. And it's just money. And it's wild, but, it's a reality. I have to, because I always said I'm not going to work for money. I refuse to work for money. I'm not going to work for money because I never wanted to get caught up. To me, that's slavery. But it's because of it, I've had numerous traumatic experiences. It's well, how are you going to do this then? How are you going to pay the rent? How are you going to? It's I don't know. But so. It's something to, being able to be spirit-filled and navigating the world at the same time, and being, and having, like you said, having good people around you. Having the right people around you, they'll make sure you don't fall in it. So it's okay, everybody comes through. We got 5 minutes.
5 minutes?
So, yeah. But,
just to comment on what you said, what Chucky said earlier about the people who you have around you, I was having a conversation with a friend, and he was telling me that you are usually the sum of some parts of the 5 people that are closest to you. So if you were to check who they are, you're going to say yourself. And the problem is that a lot of these people, a lot of us, I'm not from this planet, a lot of us don't have the right people around us. And it's not only what they do or what they're into, it's deeper than that. Do they challenge you? If you have people, like we were talking about earlier, that are comfortable, like Miles, David said, no ideas bounce over your head, you're not going to be pushy, you're not going to grow. You're going to be, at a level. And so it's good, I think, at times to reach that level, because that means somebody else is looking up to you and following you, But, like you were saying, and I commented on that earlier, the youth, like Miles would bring you the staff of people that he played with, that kept him alive, kept him young, kept him creative, If you do that with your friends, I'm not saying get rid of your friends, all the time, but I'm saying look at who is around you, If they're pushing you, are they challenging you, or are they just mooching off of you? What are they doing, stuff to think about because it's important.
It's a deep piece. And I would, the actual show, like, Realize, is called Realize. And because, again, it evolved from real talk to not just a conversation, but what are we able to interpret from this situation? What are we realizing? And the idea, the tagline is realize truth before illusions become reality. And the idea is that if we can interpret the truth, at some point, what's not real is going to become real. And as you're talking about with Empire becomes your life, or the reality show becomes your life, you say that's not real, but it is real if you believe it's real. It becomes real. So, we have to be able to interpret this in a positive way so that we can inject the positive virus into our community so that they, too, can join another level of consciousness. And that's what this is about. And, I want to thank the both of you, Nick and Chucky, man, because you represent kind of the best parts of ourselves. If we look at the collective self, like, really they're exemplars and models that actually look like, it can be that you come here and you have success somewhere else, and you have to come here with nothing and actually build and become or grow into your coffin. It can be that you're around Dunbar and it's just a time that you don't pick that route of when people making millions of dollars around you in the drug trade, they influence you to stay with music, and you stay with it, and you become like a model in the craft right here. Like, it's so it can be done. So we have to really connect with each one, like every model, every exemplar that shows that, look, without anything else, you can overcome obstacles and make it through these environments to find success. And, unfortunately, y'all not highlighted enough. And we have to start highlighting our unsung heroes and sheroes. So we look forward to that.
And that's like what Nick was talking about earlier, and just being so encouraging. Mm-hmm. Like you're allowing your light to shine, both of you. You're very easy to talk to, very accessible. And we thank you.
This guy's going to be successful, I'm telling you right now.
Oh, yeah.
He's going to be here.
Well, if I have 1 minute to comment on what you just said.
Sure.
You were talking about, what did you say? You were talking
about your light shining? And
the light shining. Yeah, so sometimes I was telling you that I learn a lot from people who face tragedy or like illness that are near-death experiences. And a lot of the times the question why? Like, I'm not any special, We ain't no better. I'm not better than you. You're any better than me. And why doesn't it happen to me? And I think the conclusion I reached, it's so that I can use whatever I have to bless other people, I don't necessarily have to go through those things to see it that way, but I guess God made a way for me to at least inspire. If I can do that, then my work is done. So I appreciate the opportunity.
Well,
that sums it up there.
That's right.
Yeah. Only have to,
Well, this has been a great show, and I really appreciate you guys being accessible and coming on and blessing all of us this evening. And I want to thank Lonzo again and Dr. Bruce as usual and everyone who listened. And if you feel that some of your friends missed out on this dynamite show, and they did if they were not tuned in, let them know that they can click on the same link that you used to listen tonight and listen to the archives. And we want to thank our brilliant and wonderful producer, Letitia McDougall, who always keeps us on our toes. Thank you, everybody. Good night. God bless. And see you on the 3rd Sunday in April. Good night.